The numbers are in, and they are literally shocking. We're talking about how much California is going to spend on policing. That's in the millions, but criminal illegals in the billions. They're going to spend $10 billion on healthcare for criminal illegals. Let's get into it. Here we go. When I first saw this headline, I thought, that can't be true. There's no way that's true, is it? I mean, they're spending $350 million on state police and $10 billion on criminal illegals. Healthcare? Does that make any sense at all? How are California citizens not outraged at this? You know what I mean? How are California citizens? It's okay. I'm all right with it. They need healthcare too. No, they don't. Democrat-controlled California will reportedly keep rolling out the red carpet for illegal aliens in the 2025-2026 budget period while shoving state police officers to the side. Just give them the old push out the door, right? You guys don't need any funding. You guys don't need more funding. You're police. Police are overrated, right? Just wildly overrated. We found out the hard way just how overrated police were during the Summer of Love when defunded police. And then, you know what? It was weird is there was this correlation between defunding the police and, I don't know, crime going up at like a rocket. Yeah, didn't see that one coming. People are so dumb. Per the Daily Caller, Governor Gavin Newsom is doing what many Democrats in other states have done when it comes to illegals and health care. The outlet reported Tuesday. The article stated, Gavin Newsom's final budget allocates $348 million to law enforcement. Well, the benefits for illegal aliens amounted to $10 billion. The new report by the state's legislators' analyst office reveals a 35% higher figure than the $7.4 billion cost Newsom estimated in his January. All right, so less than a year ago, just a measly $7.4 billion going to be spent on health care for criminal illegals. I mean, make this make sense. In what world is it required to pay for it? It's not. This is what big blue states are doing. And you know what? We're gonna touch on another one that's doing the exact same damn thing. Oregon. Just so you don't think I'm picking on California. And look at this one we're going to go back to the other one, but Oregon spending more money on health care for non-citizens than state police, budget shows. I mean, this is across the board. So, and you could take probably any number of budgetary concerns, right? And go, hey, because $10 billion for California. California's got a massive population. It's got a massive workforce. It dropped a notch. If it were its own country, it would have a GDP that, is fifth in the world. It is a machine, but even machines falter when you're spending $10 billion on criminal illegals, many of whom will be deported. But hey, let's just go ahead and fund their health care anyway, right? California's joint state-federal Medicare program, Medi-Cal, it provides comprehensive coverage for doctor's visits, medications, dental, and vision care for 1.7 million illegal aliens. How many of you Californians right now would love free doctor's visits, free medication, free dental? Go to the dentist for free, and free vision care. Get those contacts, get those glasses, get those all for free because you came in illegally across the southern border. You broke the law, came into the country, and now your punishment is you're going to get all that free stuff. How many Californians are saying, no, that's not really what I wanted? Well, unfortunately, you voted Gavin Newsom in and you voted a whole bunch of other people in that this is the drill. This is unfortunately the reality that you're living in. Me too. I'm in Washington State. We do the same damn thing. It's so mentally twisted, right? It's like this wildly exaggerated compassion that we can't afford, that we shouldn't be paying for, and that is just absolutely outrageous. It's wild, right? So we got medications, we got dental and vision for 1.7 illegals who represent 11% of the program's enrollees. 11% of the program's enrollees. Man, according to the Los Angeles office report, illegal immigrants' health benefits will consume a fourth of the Medi-Cal money flowing from state coffers. A quarter of it. 25% just boop, illegals. Make that make sense. I mean, those are shenanigans of the highest order, right? I mean, it's so ridiculous. I was reading in Portland, the Portland City Council that are just, brain dead. They're going to try and squeeze fees out of companies that lease their buildings to ICE facilities for all the extra stuff that has to get paid for because local law enforcement is basically at war with ICE. So ICE has to come out and do a bunch of stuff. Well, no, Portland police got to pay for it. Just ridiculous stuff like that. Get your priorities in order. Law enforcement. You know what I mean? But that's not the thing. And I see so many news stories where it's like, well, there was an ICE crackdown on, the community needs to be aware. Why does the community need to get worked up when criminal illegals are being tossed? Why is that of concern? How does that make any sense? It doesn't. It doesn't. You guys are out of your minds. Many leftists with social justice and open borders lobbying groups, some with links to billionaire George Soros. There we go. He's always lurking around somewhere with that Open Society Foundation, right? They have demanded the federal government stop funding police across the nation. Yeah, and that was in 2020. Yeah, that was a whole thing. And, whether Mamdani or Kamala Harris wants to admit it, they would love to, deeply defund the police. But in order to get elected, they have to say, oh, you know what? I meant that in theory. I didn't really mean that. I meant that in theory. I mean, it was a hypothetical defunding of the police. And you're just left with, you're a liar. You are just straight up effing lying. But, just go ahead and keep, doing those lying shenanigans. I'm sure it'll be fine. In addition, Democrat-run Oregon is reportedly on track to spend $500 million more on a program that gives free health care to illegal immigrants than for its state police. We covered that one. That's why this is kind of part two. It's like, you're doing what? How much money are you spending? Why? You know what I mean? Why? Oh, we feel compassionate. You can't solve everybody's problems. You can't solve everybody's problem. You got to have a closed border. We've proven that. Anyway, hey, what would happen if, I'm just throwing out a hypothetical, you let 20 million criminal illegals just flood the country? What do you think would happen? Do you think they would all just, get along and, we wouldn't have to really pay for anything? Remember when Let's Go Brandon Johnson. Remember when all those just absolutely, mind-checked governors said, oh, yeah, give us as many criminal illegals as you can. And then Greg Abbott of Texas said, okay, we can do that, along with some help from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. We started shipping all these buses filled with criminal illegals into Chicago, into California, into Denver. Remember when Denver was just a hotbed of stories because they were just so eager beaver to take in the criminals into their city and integrate them. And then come to find out, Tren de Aragua was a thing. Who knew? Who knew, right? Who knew? Oregon is one of the Democrat-dominated states that went all in for free health care programs for illegals during the Biden years. But 3 other deep blue states that made similar moves on health care for immigrants have begun pulling back on these promises because the programs are massive budget busters. Again, shenanigans of the highest order, right? Because let's see. You got to house them. You got to feed them. You have to clothe them because they don't have jobs, right? And you got to give them health care. And that health care is expensive because they're coming in. They're having babies. They're, all the stuff that you got to have. Got to have. But, Californians, do you guys all have those freebies? No, you don't. So it's this wild double standard, and taxpayers are footing the bill. Taxpayers are footing the bill. California, Illinois, Minnesota. Minnesota, what happened to Minnesota? Since when did it just go down the toilet? Like, how did that happen, right? You're like, Minnesota, it shouldn't be that out of control. Oh, it is. When 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗏 is the good choice to have, right, for mayor, Minneapolis, I think Trump said it best. He said, when you have a bad Democrat or a commie, you go with the bad Democrat all day long. 100% true. 100% true. You just do. You're like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one is worse? Oh, yeah. Not the commie. Not the commie. All launched massive healthcare giveaways to illegals over the last 4 years, but all three are paring back their programs because they realized what an expensive endeavor that is. After costs soared tens of millions beyond what was initially proposed. Well, I mean, when you look at what Newsom said at the beginning of this year, 2025, he said, it's about 7.4 billion and change. And then, oh, no, you know what? It's more. It's more. They had more babies. They had more eye care problems. They had more, whatever. It's 10 billion. It's 10 billion. Meanwhile, Representative 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗛𝗏, Democrat from California, admitted in October the government shutdown fight is over Democrats seeking to give taxpayer-funded health care to illegals. Now, police officers in Democrat-run areas across America are apparently fed up with illegals getting billions in funds while they get ignored, according to the outlet. I mean, they know what the drill is. It's a matter of politics, right? And policing, no matter what you believe. In big blue liberal states, big blue liberal cities, even when they say they support policing, they don't. Because at the end of the day, progressives don't want to have law and order. They don't want to have a judicial system. They don't want to have judges. They just don't. They go down all this crazy train stuff. And then when they become, eligible for office and then they say, oh, you know what? That was just me talking. That was more a figure of speech. I didn't really mean all that stuff because Lord knows defunding the police, terrible idea, right? Because they don't want a bunch of moderates going, what? You said what? Oh, I can't vote for you. You're an extremist. But then that's what most progressives, that's what they believe and that's what they want to see. Oregon spending more money on health care for non-citizens than state police. It's so true. Conversation with KATU on Thursday, House Republican leader Lucetta Elmer of McMinnville discussed the importance of raising awareness about the state's spending disparity. We've got a disparity between healthcare for criminal illegals and the Oregon State Police. This is shameful, is what this is. This is wildly shameful. For the current biennium, about $1.2 billion is budgeted towards Healthier Oregon program. Okay, about $717 million budgeted towards Oregon State Police. That is a ratio that, while almost double, I can work with. The $10 billion versus whatever they're spending on cops in California is nuts. Because that's way more than a 10-to-1 ratio, right? This one here, 2-to-1. Okay, all right. Neither one is good. Neither one is good. But California, those are shenanigans of the highest order, aren't they? Yeah, because, hey, what could go wrong when you spend $10 billion on criminal illegals? Oh, well, a budget deficit for one. Yeah, because you're spending money on crap you don't need. Washington State, same thing. Biggest problem, these big progressive states, counties, cities, however you want to categorize them as, none of them are willing to cut budgets because they've given out a bunch of money to people. Now those people are dependent upon it. They're dependent upon their king, right? Even though there's no kings, they're dependent upon that hand me out, just the gimme, just give me something for free. Mom Dami's going to give them even more in New York City. And fortunately, it looks like, I'm recording this before we officially know, that our socialist mayor did not win here in Seattle. I believe Bruce Harrell is going to eke out a victory, but in a couple of hours, I think they're counting a bunch more votes. And the thing with Seattle is we're super progressive here. And by progressive, I don't mean progress. I mean mentally retarded with our ideology. That's what we are. And those types of folks, the mentally challenged progressives, they tend to vote super late in the game. So Bruce Harrell might have a lead now, but after they start counting all the mail-in votes from the progressives who can't really run their lives very well, so they, vote at the super last minute. I got to get that vote in. Got to get in my commie vote here. And that's what they're doing. So we'll see on whether Katie Wilson wins here in Seattle, but I don't think that's a reality. But shenanigans in New York City, those are going to be fun to watch, right? Those are going to be fun to watch. Essentially, the state of Oregon is going to be spending a little less than double what it's spending on state police on healthcare for non-citizens. I love non-citizens. Why don't you call them criminal illegals, right? Remember when Let's Go Brandon Johnson? He's like, well, then why don't you call me a slave? And it's like, well, because you're not a slave. And that's not what we're talking about. Those people literally came into the country illegally. That makes them criminals, and they're illegal. That makes criminal illegals. Criminal illegal aliens is the 100% correct term. So if you want, true transparency and all that nonsense, all that silliness, then you go with that term right there, right? Bottom line is Oregon, California, Washington State, the reason they're having to jack up these taxes is because they're spending billions and billions of dollars on costs that they don't necessarily need to. And, and it's not just on the criminal legals. It's all sorts of programs that if they were in a Republican-run state, Republicans would go, no, can't do that. But there's such a supermajority in not only Washington and Oregon and California. And California pushed through that Proposition 50. It's going to redistrict just a little bit more. You can only redistrict so many times, and then you're all out, right? Then you're all out. Meanwhile, Texas and a bunch of other states, they're going to keep going. They're going to keep going. Let me throw this one by you for a second. What if you took half of that $10 billion in California and put that towards law enforcement, put that towards, something of actual progress that you can point to versus taking care of people who aren't citizens, who aren't here legally? What if you did that? Hiring of police officers. What if you just budgeted for that? I know you can't hire them. You can't hire them all. But you could give it a good shot with $5 billion, right? You could give it a good shot. Maybe temporarily, you just get a whole bunch more police officers. But again, we're talking about a progressive state that doesn't necessarily value public safety. They don't. Because look at the money they're spending. You know what I mean? It's pretty obvious where the priorities are, and they are not on the constituents of California. Any which way you look at that, yeah, this is wildly out of whack. This is a shenanigan of the highest order and a budget shenanigan at that. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.